Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm here with my Panda palette finale for the year. I have been working on quite a few different palettes this year and I am gonna wrap it up today. It is New Year's Eve. So if you're celebrating today, hope you're having an amazing evening. I am currently in Stockholm when I'm posting this, but I'm currently at my parents' house in Sweden, which is why I have a different background. But today, like I said, I'm gonna wrap up my Panda palette. I have most recently been working on my Huda Beauty Gold Obsessions palette. And then my original Panda palette was my Naked Tutorials and Beauty Bay palette, but halfway through the year I switched to this one. So I will talk you through both of them today and where I stand at the end of the year. It is the 27th today, so I still have a couple more days of the year, so I might work on these a bit more, but I think I accomplished most of what I wanted this year. But before I jump into the palettes, if you're new here, please consider subscribing. I would love to have you in the family. Let's jump into the video. I also do want to mention, if you didn't watch my video yesterday, but I actually got engaged recently, so if you see that ring there, that is what it is. I didn't talk too much about it yesterday, but you can check that video out if you want more information. But I can also do a good video with me if you want to hear the story and everything like that. But if you see a ring there, that is what it is. So I'm gonna start by going through the Tutorials palette, I believe, which is this one, which was my original Panda palette. So I'm gonna talk you through that first. This right here is where I was with this palette last month, so you can see what the palette looked like. I have been working on this one a little bit in the past month, and I do have some changes, but I will go through them. So this is where I am with the palette today. For simplicity's sake, I'm just going to have the comparison pictures up here. I'm going to scooch a little bit to the side, but I'm going to have the comparison pictures up here so you can see the palette more easily because it is so big to hold up. But let's go through the shades. So first up we have the pink shade in the palette, which is the shade Blend and Snap. This one I didn't use at all in the past month. I was hoping to maybe get through this one this year, but I wasn't able to do that, which is completely fine. But that is the first shade. Next up in the palette we have the shade Vla, which is one that I have worked on a lot this past month. You can see the difference here, but I have a lot of difference in this eyeshadow. I've actually used this one 52 times, which is a really high number. And the reason for that is because I have used this one in several ways. I used this as an eyeshadow a lot of times. I also Franken this one with one of my Franken shades in my BYOP to make more kind of a cool tone taupe, which I use for my brows. And I also use this as a blush. So using it as a blush might come as a surprise because it is a bright yellow, but it has worked really well because I've been working a lot of pink tone blushes. I was panning my Dior Rosy Glow blush, which I have finished now, but that one is super pink, and sometimes I wanted to have like a different type of blush. And I heard Caitlin mention in her video that she uses golden ochre to tone down some of her bright blushes, and I was thinking like, that's like a yellow toned eyeshadow. Is way more muted than Vla, but I was like, maybe I can use Vla in a similar way. So I did that in the past month and it worked out really well. I do have a little bit left of this eyeshadow, as you can see. I didn't quite finish it, but I am on the 27th today, like I mentioned, and I do foresee myself being able to use this one up before the end of the year because there is so little left in the pan. I did kind of want to demonstrate today like how I do it, so I'm gonna pick up a little bit of this eyeshadow on the brush. I always tap it off a little bit on my hand just not to get like a blob of yellow, and then I just go ahead and put it like over my blush just to tone it down a little bit and make it more kind of peachy. I don't know if you can see the difference there, but it definitely turns it more peachy, which I really like. So yeah, just pick it up on the brush and then again I go and I just tone down. Okay, I got a little bit too much yellow there, but I can fix that. It's not too bad actually. But I do have my blending brush. I'm gonna blend that out. But if you can see here, I have a mark, which is because I burnt myself on my curling iron. But looking at my blush now, you can see like it doesn't look yellow at all, but it works really well to tone down like the pinkness of things. So that is one way that I used it, but I also used it a lot on my eyes. So a lot of uses on the shade Vla, and again it is one that I'm hoping to finish before the end of the year. So at the moment, like I said, I have 53 now uses on this eyeshadow. But what I will do is, since this is not going up until the 31st, I will insert here the total uses for this eyeshadow in the past month that it took to finish it, and the total uses. So that is the shade Vla. Then we have the shade All In, which is kind of like a light shimmery shade, which I really love. I have used this one once. I used it on Christmas Eve, which was really pretty. I really like this eyeshadow, like I said. So that is the next one. Then we have the shade Pride, which is the pink shimmer, and I didn't use this one at all in the past month. And then the last one is the blue shimmer, which is the shade Mama Tutorials, and this one I used 10 times. So yeah, a couple uses there, not too much. I was hoping to maybe finish Mama Tutorials like on my nails because I like this one as a nail polish, but I wasn't able to do so because I was focusing on other things. So this is where I'm wrapping up this palette. Again, I'm like planning to finish Blah right there, but I'm really happy with the progress that I was able to make on this one. And if you haven't been following this project since the beginning of the year, I did actually declutter a lot of the shades in here, so I didn't finish like everything. I did, like I said, declutter most of it. So that is my Nikita Tutorials palette from Beauty Bay, and again, I'm pretty happy with where I ended up with this palette. So next up, we were supposed to talk about my Franken palette, which is a BYOP that I created with some Franken shades from the Nikita Tutorials palette that I was trying to use up. I had packed that one, I had put the remaining shades in there, and I had put in some extra like sparkly shimmers that I wanted to bring for New Year's and Christmas. And I packed that already, but I did forget it because before we left, I did my makeup that day and I took it out of my makeup bag, put it on my desk, and I forgot it. So I actually don't have my BYOP with me, but you can see here what it looked like last month, and I'll talk you through what I was able to do with each shade. So there was the shade Mila Vla, which is that kind of yellow toned, like mustardy yellow kind of a transition shade. And I was actually able to finish this one off after 9 uses and a total of 32. So those Franken uses will go towards both the shade Mila and the shade Vla in the Nikita Tutorials palette, which are both shades that I was able to finish. Then we had the shade U and Vla, which was the green kind of shade in there. And I was able to finish this one too. It took me 10 additional uses for a total of 29 to finish. And again, this one will go towards Franken uses for Vla. The shade U I didn't finish, but the shade Vla I'm hoping to do at least. So those will count towards that eyeshadow. Then we had the purple shade, which was a mix between Amsterdam and Blend and Snap. And this one I wasn't able to finish, but I did use it 18 times in the past month, which is really good. And I'm happy with that progress. So yeah, pretty good. Unfortunately, again, I won't be able to show you this, but I did finish 2 out of the 3 Frankens that were left, which I'm really happy with. And also, by the way, with the Amsterdam and Blend and Snap shade, I didn't finish it like I said, but I did get a lot of use on it. So it's not like I didn't touch it at all. I did move a lot of it out as well, and I think I should be able to finish that Franken in the next month if I desire to do so. So those were my Nikita Tutorials and Beauty Bay related palettes. Next up, we're going to talk about my Huda Beauty Gold Obsessions palette, which has been my main palette for the last 6 months. So this right here is where this palette was last month. I did have a couple of finished shades already, but there was definitely a lot still to work on. So I will talk you through where I am with this palette today. So this is where I'm wrapping up the palette, but let's again go through each shade. So the shade, the first shade in the palette, which I use, called Pink Gold, I had already finished in the past month, and that one took me 6 uses in total to finish up. Then in the palette we had the shade, the second shade, which I use, called Blending Shade, which is this one right here. I was hoping to maybe finish this one, but I wasn't able to do that. I think that is like the only fail of this past month, is that I wasn't able to finish that blending shade. But I did use it 26 times, which is really good. So I did do as much as I could with it, and I think I will be able to finish this one in the next month if I continue working on this palette. But yeah, that is the second shade in here. For the next row, we have the dark brown next, which I only used twice in the past month, not too much, but yeah, I was working on other things and I knew that I wasn't going to be able to finish it anyway, so I did kind of leave that one behind a little bit, but at least I did use it twice. Then we have the center shade right here, which I called Green Gold. And as you can see, this one wasn't finished last month, but I was able to finish it in the past month. And I used this one a lot. I used this one 22 additional times. I used it on my nails, I think once or twice, and then I use it on my eyes a lot. With my Project Level Up, if you haven't seen that update, I actually just filmed that, but that was my Natasha Nona mini gold palette, which has a lot of green tones with it. So this shade worked really well with that palette, so I was able to use it a lot, and I was also able to finish it, which was really good. So that is the first shade that I was able to finish in this past month. Then we have the sixth shade in the palette, which is this mauve shade right here, and again I wasn't able to finish this one, but I did use it a couple of times. I used it twice, so not too much, but again it was a shade similar to the brown that I knew that I wasn't able to finish this month, so I kind of left it alone for the most part. But it is a beautiful shade. I just was working on other things because we are in the end of the year and I want to wrap up projects. Then for the third row, we have success. As you can see, I finished all 3 shades. So first up we have this shade here, which was the shade that I called Taupe Champagne. This one took me 35 additional uses to finish. I actually used this one for the last time today as an inner corner highlight and as a face highlight. So every time I used it as my inner corner highlight and my face highlight, that was 2 uses. So it took me, like I said, 35 times to finish this one for a total of 56. Then we had this shade here, which was one I call Sand Champagne, which is more kind of a goldy shade. This one I was also able to finish. This was probably the one I was most scared of finishing together with the green gold. But I did use this one on my nails, I think 3 times in the past month. I think so. And that really helped. So I used it 28 additional times to finish it for a total of 49. I actually used this one as a base today for my nail look. It's a little bit messy because I just painted them this morning, and I was able to finish this eyeshadow up doing it that way. But yeah, I used it as a base and then I put a glitter on top, and that's gonna be my New Year's nails, which is really exciting. But that was the last time I used this eyeshadow, and again I was able to finish this one in a total of 49 uses. Then we have the last shade right here, which was the Yellow Gold, and that is another shade that I already had finished at the past month. It had taken me 41 total uses to finish that eyeshadow. So really happy with where this palette ended up. Again, ideally I would have wanted this a shade out too and just have 2 left, but I am really happy. Considering I only worked on this one for 6 months, I think I did a pretty good job. So I'm very happy with where I'm wrapping this palette up. So I will do a separate video on everything that I finished, all eyeshadows that I finished in the past year in January. But just to sum up, I will go through what I was able to finish in this year's Panda palette between the 2 palettes. So in here, obviously, I was able to finish this shade here, which took me 60 uses. This one here took me 45. This one in the center took me 30. Then we have on this last row, we have 46 uses, 49 uses, and 41 uses. So that was everything that I was able to finish in this palette, which is 6 shades. Then we have my Nick Tutorials and Beauty Bay palette, which I'm going to talk you through next. The first shade that I haven't quite finished, but I will be able to, is the shade Vla right here. And again, I will insert on screen how many total times it took to finish, but that is the first shade. Then we have the shade Mila, which was like this kind of brown shade, and that one I have also finished. That one took me 269 uses to finish. Granted, I did use that one as a multitasker after I Frankened it. I also used it as a bronzer, but it took me 269 uses to finish. Then we had the shade Plot Twist, which was this kind of shade here. That was like a light blue, and that took me 148 uses to finish. Then last in the palette that I was able to finish from this one is the shade here, which was the shade Basic Truth, which was just like a cream colored shade, and that one took me 188 uses to finish. And that is everything that I was able to go through in here, which is another 4 shades. So that means that through this project, throughout the whole year, I was able to finish 10 eyeshadows completely, which I am really happy with, especially considering my Nick Tutorials and Beauty Bay palette is a massive palette. Does it say how much it has in here? Yes, there is 2.3 grams per eyeshadow, which is a massive amount. That is so much. Obviously, the Huda Beauty palette has way less shades. The weight has completely rubbed off, like all the text has rubbed off from the back, but I know the pants in here have like way less. But with that, I'm really happy that I was able to get through 10 eyeshadows this year in this project. So yeah, that is going to be the wrap up for my Panda palette. I will have my 2024 Panda palette introduction up tomorrow on the 1st of January. So you can stay tuned for that. I am doing this project again next year. But yeah, I hope you're having a lovely New Year's Eve wherever you are celebrating. And I will catch you in tomorrow's video. Bye guys!